Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another SwansCast podcast. So we join you a little bit later than we thought we would. So we haven't seen you since before the transfer window ended. So we've got a little bit to talk about. So I'm joined by Lee and Ben to talk about all of this stuff today. So welcome back, both of you.
How are we? Okay.
Hello,
Yeah,
hello.
doing all right. I've had a bit of a cold, so if my voice goes at all, that's why I'll get the excuses in early. How are you two keeping?
Well, yeah, fresh off the back of an away day to Bristol. We all know how that ended, so I'm in a good mood. I'm also in a good mood because I think my biggest toxic trait is I like saying I told you so, and as we'll get onto at some point from Twitter, I get to say I told you so today.
Yeah, if anyone's following the X, as they like to call it these days, there was a tweet that went out earlier, well, last week I think it was now. Bit of a brave tweet, I think, from our part, because we don't often do things like this, to be fair, but Ben had some information, decided to share it. We were happy for him to do so, and we had some, what's the word? When everyone doubts you, but then turns out you were spot on. What's the word? Reassurance? I don't know. There's that's sort of come to me. But yeah, so we'll talk about that in a bit. It's to do with Mac Rhymes, but if anyone's looking at X, you might already know what we're talking about. So we've got a little bit to talk about with him anyway, in regards to him leaving, because the last time we spoke about him, he hadn't quite left. We were talking about the process, but hadn't happened. The transfer window in general, two results, probably focus more on Bristol than Coventry. But yeah, that's what's on the agenda today. A new sporting director as well, so we can touch on that as well. But Lee, how have you been keeping before we get into all of that stuff?
Yeah, not bad. I've been rough as well. I'm just coming to the tail end of my cold and flu and whatever else is going around. So survived just enough to make it to Sunday, feeling fresh.
Fair enough. Should we get stuck in then? Where do you want to start? Where should we start this time?
Should we just get the bad one out of the
with-
way? Should we get, like, if we're covering the games, there is a very bad result we have to talk about. And by result, I mean performance.
The Coventry. I'll leave you kick this one off. If you'd like, I know you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, fresh off the back of losing Mac Rhymes, I feel like there's not too much
Coventry, by the way.
Yeah, to Coventry. There isn't too much to talk about with Rhymes. We all know it was a foregone conclusion in the last pods. We've all seen the fallout of it. But yeah, it was an endless, 90 minutes of just having the Coventry fans chant at us, "Where's your captain gone? He left because you can't sit out on the pod." But yeah, the performance we were expecting it to be bad. I think me and Luke in particular have said, for a while, what do we look like when Mac Rhymes leaves? And we couldn't have imagined how bad this one was. I think it's because they didn't have much time on the training ground without him, maybe. But I don't know how to describe what I saw. There was no coherent understanding of what was expected of us. No idea on what the shape was with the ball, without the ball. Fulton started, and not to turn into a scapegoat because Franco was lost in this game as well. But players were hiding. We don't normally build through the thirds too much anyway. We normally build wide, but in this game in particular, there was just nothing, absolutely nothing. Every time Coventry picked up the ball and looked to go forward, there was just a couple of passes and they were through us. When we were transitioning to defence, we didn't even look like we were coming back together. It was, I don't know. Can you add anything? Did you both watch the game? Lee, did you watch the game?
Yeah, I went to the Coventry game. I was trying to think. It was a bit of a. It was weird because it was a really strange atmosphere. It was just odd because of everything that had happened in the week, and obviously we were playing like Coventry as well, of all teams who've taken Grimes off us. So it was just weird from minute one, and I think the performance reflected it as well. Just from minute one, you could just see it wasn't right. Everyone looked really uncomfortable on the pitch. I obviously we're used to playing a certain way, and when you take out Grimes, then it just changes everything because obviously he was at the heart of that. So I think Ben was right. It just looked like nobody kind of wanted to fill the role. Nobody kind of wanted to take the game on. Everybody was hiding a little bit, and I think it was one of the worst atmospheres I've ever seen when it came down to half time because they scored that good goal and they right on half time nearly. And when I went down to the concourse, I think everybody was kind of like, "This is."
Can we put an asterisk by good goal, please?
Yeah, it was a screamer.
Yeah, the finish was a screamer. Should never have had the chance to kick it.
No, it was a poor.
I just think that everyone is ignoring the massive elephant in the room of how bad a mistake it was because of how good the finish was.
Who was it? Franco.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
it was Franco.
And if that's someone else, they hang out to dry. Let's be honest. And I just feel like that needs to be called out because, yeah, I'm not taking anything away from that finish, right? But he should never have had that opportunity presented to him, and I think that shouldn't be forgotten. No one seems to mention that part, and that really annoys me.
Yeah, exactly. If it was Fulton, I'm assuming that's what you're alluding to. If it was Fulton, he would have been roasted on Twitter immediately, and we'd
When he
still
was
be talking
roasted
about it
anyway,
now.
when for that game,
Yeah.
which I'm not trying to defend him for his performance. I'm just trying to say, what, because it's Franco, nobody has literally questioned the fact that he's made an absolute howler.
But what we saw was the fallout of Grimes not being there and everyone trying to adapt to it within a few days. Like, nobody was there to fill the Grimes role. Like, no replacement was there to begin with. He hasn't technically been replaced now. I know Lewis O'Brien's come in, who's a different type of player, in my opinion. And we saw against Bristol City, as we'll get on to, very good debut from him. So I'm not disputing he won't come in and have a good impact for us. But no, we don't have that six, do we? Still, we don't have that player who's going to spray the ball around and keep things ticking. We said this every part of our game: the build-up phase, the transition to defense, even breaking down the final, in the final third. It's always all gone through Grimes, and it has done for 6 or 7 years. So it was embarrassing, probably how bad we played, but probably wasn't surprising in hindsight, was it? Because it's like
we were expecting it, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
It's just the positioning for me. It was just gaping holes everywhere. It's incredible how one player can make such a difference to 11 on a field. Like they'd all look probably to Grimes to know where they should be. Grimes is on the halfway line, I should be here. Grimes is on the edge of the box, I should be here. Grimes is on the edge of the attack in third, I should be here. So take him out, and you had the two midfielders who didn't know what they were supposed to be doing, and everything just fell apart. It was mad.
And I just want to highlight to you while we're talking about this, because I think from what I've seen a lot on social media, and I do find it a little bit like stupid, to be honest, is a lot of people making comments like, oh, well, we didn't need him anyway. All he ever did was this. Trying to like turn anything about Matt Grimes negative, right, from his 10 years at the club, and just trying to justify the fact that he's now gone any way they can, any shape they can, with any reason, right? And it's easier now after the win against Bristol City. That's massive ammunition for that argument. But in this game specifically, people don't want to address how bad Swansea are without him, and they're going to have to change. Luke Williams has come out in the press and said we're going to have to play different. Like, it's a fact, we're going to have to. We haven't got somebody that can do that job. Instantly switch the formation, instantly trying different tactics, and we were kind of already in a transition season. And we're kind of now transitioning during our transition. I don't think we're going to necessarily knock the passing football on the head, but I think there's going to have to be an element of increased directness brought into it. And I think we've already seen that. And he's gone to a 3-4-3.
I'm calling it 3-4-2-1.
Yeah, it was like 2-10.
So with wing backs, and he's reverted back to that sort of system. So massive changes already on the fact that one player has left. And we go on to talk about Bristol later on, and we got a really good result and really good performance there, but it was a completely different shape and performance and tactical style. And I don't think it's fair to say to sort of look at that as a really good individual performance and result, and then say, well, that wouldn't have happened if Grimes was here. See, he's better now that he's gone. We're in a better place. In the long run, now we're transitioning in a different way. We might find a better way of playing. I'm not saying that we won't, but that's not the player's fault. If we've always asked, as a group of fans, Swans fans now, to play a passing brand of football, and he fit into that and helped us nail it, if you like. Whether that brand of football was the correct way forward, that's a different conversation. I think we've had a few times. I'm sure it'll crop up a few times more. But I just find it quite weird that the fan base as a whole is just... I know it's the way he left and everyone's bitter about it. I get that. But it's just really weird that all of a sudden he's not good enough. He's top of every stat you can ask for a midfield player in the Championship, and he has been for several years. It's a massive blow to the club, so let's just not pretend that it isn't. I know we've got to go a different direction, and that's fine. But let's just not try and brush under the carpet and pretend that it was oh well, it's not a big deal anyway, because it's just a load of rubbish.
Yeah,
no, but that's just a load of rubbish.
And this Coventry game shows that in abundance for me.
No, but that's how we deal with it in a way, isn't it? Football fans are fickle, and I'm not saying it wasn't obviously
players have left in the past, and you don't.
No,
the
but we know how
reaction's been incredibly poor, I think.
Yeah, but I kind of do understand it. the way he did leave, like to lose your club captain, and by all, we've been through this before anyway. We don't need to go like around the houses again, but like when we're in the midst of a poor run, and your club captain leaves, and he asks to leave, and
But
by all
did he
accounts,
ask to leave though? Who said he asked to leave?
he handed in a transfer request.
He
Who
said
said
he'd
that?
like to leave. That's why he said it's an opportunity I couldn't turn down. So,
well, there was a lot of conflicting things with that, and that got brushed off as not being true from what I've seen. So, like, but the thing is, the damage was done as soon as that bit of information's come out, and everyone's jumped on it. Now,
Yeah, but he's got to have asked to leave because they put in 2 bids and then they accepted the third one. He's got to have said, "Look, I want to go."
this is the thing for me when people say he asked to leave, but did he put in a transfer request? It's the same thing in my opinion.
It's the same thing, yeah.
It means
I
the
think-
same thing.
I don't know. I personally don't have an issue with him saying, "Look, I'm interested in talking to that club." I just don't have an issue with it personally.
Yeah, but
how can you have an issue with that?
So
Because
that's a
he's-
transfer request, and loads of our players have done it. Nathan Wood did it, but he ended up staying, and he kicked on. This is the thing for me. Just because a player has to leave,
But like we've said in the past, where players have left and players have done it the right way and players who haven't done it the right way, right? Joel Perreault is labelled as somebody that's done it the right way. He did the same thing. So why is it different?
only 3 players said goodbye to Matt Grimes when he left. That's all I'm saying.
You can't compare it to someone like Grimes though, because
But
like
also
you said,
but none
we've
of us
also
are kind of
built
there, so we don't know how it really went down. I'm not trying to defend all of that anyway, and I know it's a hard thing to take. I just don't think that ruins the 10 years of what he's done for us and how important he was to the team. That's all.
I think it does. I think it has ruined it.
It's fresh right now, which doesn't help.
Fair enough.
All I'm saying is he's just signed a new deal in the summer.
Yeah.
For me, it makes a difference when he's club captain, and to go in January that
Yeah.
late into the window, knowing full well how recruitment teams are, not up to much, to put it nicely.
But like if you're a player, yeah, and all of that annoys me as well, right? Don't get me wrong, but it's not gonna. I'm not gonna like. He's not dead to me now. Do you know what I mean? Like he still has a history here, and I think he's still had a really good part of our time. If you're in his shoes, if you're a player, and you're like, okay, well, Watford don't get another opportunity. Do you just say, oh, do you know what? Just because I'm club captain, just because I've been here all of this time, I just can't leave because we've had a couple of bad results.
I would have respected him more if he left for a club that was actually about to go
Yeah.
into the Prem or was in the Prem.
That's what I mean.
He's
What
left for a team that's
opportunity?
4 points above us with a manager that probably won't be there in a year because he's Frank Lampard. It's like,
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we've got different opinions on it, but I just think we are just being a bit like entitled by thinking. It doesn't. I'm not glad he's gone. Like I hate the fact that he's gone, and I just think it's a dose of reality in a way. And he's been here a long time, and he's had other opportunities to leave to the Premier League, which he didn't go. So it's not like he hasn't shown loyalty in the past. So like, all of a sudden now, because he's gone eventually, now we're just like done with him. I just don't get why it's other players have been here for a significant amount of time. Liam, we didn't react like this when Britain went to Sheffield, and he came back 6 months later. That's all well and good then, but like he still left in January, or not in January, sorry, in the summer. But like he still went. He was a bit of a legend at the time.
I was like 8 years old, to be fair.
He'd like fallen out with the manager though, and he wasn't playing him, so that's why he left. It was different circumstances when he wasn't playing. Sousa wasn't playing him at all, and he'd fallen out with him, so he had to like leave because he wasn't playing. Just a little bit. But I think like with Grimes, like I do get what you're saying. I'm not going to like forget what he's done, but I think like as a fan base, I think you can be annoyed with him, and it can definitely tar everything that he's done.
Yeah, I don't think don't be frustrated with him, but I don't know if we should ruin what he's done in the past.
Yeah, I think, but it does ruin what he's done in the past because like we said, you can understand if a player wants to go on and like have a bit of ambition, and if he'd gone to Watford or Fulham or anyone in the thing, we would have been gutted. We would have been like hurt, but we would have been like, oh, fair enough. Like he is going, but this just seemed like this seemed a bit like spiteful because he's just gone. It's a sideways move, however you want to make it. It's a sideways move at the moment. It's a bit of a sideways move. He's left when the club was in a bit of a bad situation. As club captain and being there for so long, and like you said, we've built the way that we play around him. I mean, he's got a bit of a good position there and we're lucky that he never got injured. But he's lucky in the sense that he wasn't droppable. We built around him. We played the way he wanted to play. He almost came out sometimes and said like, "Oh look, when Duff got sacked, he was like, oh, well, we got to play this way." He had quite a significant influence in the club, I think. So for him to then just abruptly go, I've had enough now, I want to go, then I think it does just like whatever. Like
Fair
It's
enough.
obvious.
thanks, but bye.
It's obvious he's pushed to leave because somebody who's been here 10 years, if it was just a sense of, oh, I'd like to speak to them, but that nothing more, then we would have turned down that measly offer. He'd still be playing for us. There's players who've been here far less time. Dan James, for example, who we've rejected bids for, but they've just come back and knuckled on. He's been here a decade. If it was a sense of he's happy to stay, even if he didn't get the move he wanted, he would have just carried on playing. The reason we've sold him is because he's pushed out the door. He's taken the door off the hinges.
And again, and that does annoy me, but I don't like necessarily like it's not done. Like I'm not finished with whatever happened in the past. Also, the skeptic in me does consider there might be other scenarios at play here that we are seeing a picture that is wanted to be seen. Do you not think that's a possibility?
I just can't see any scenario where we'd look to sell him.
Like I just find it quite interesting how much stick as a whole as a fan base, again, and I agree with it, has given the club and the board in regards to how the entire January window was handled, but nobody's asked the question around how this situation was handled from their side. And all the information that you hear that we've just discussed there has all been to kind of make the player look like the villain in all of it. Maybe that isn't the full story, and it's just the story that we wanted to be seen.
I'm not defending.
I'm just
suggesting I wouldn't have sold him.
I
wouldn't have sold him for that price. Even if he handed in a transfer request, me personally, I don't understand the politics of
I agree with you.
He's pushing to leave. We have to sell him though. A contract isn't worth the paper it's written on if you can't enforce it. He had, 2.5 years, 3 years still to go here, whatever.
Part of the reason I'm mentioning this possibility is what's it called? Not the FFP. What's it called? SSP. What's it called these days? Sustainability and profit and sustainability. I can't talk. What's it called? Profit and sustainability rules. Yeah. And it really doesn't look good for us at the moment from the stuff that's coming out. And nobody's looking at that. I'm just highlighting it. And there's been articles. They're not the most reputable articles, but there's been stuff that's been dropping this week since we've signed that Lewis O'Brien, that if it doesn't pay off and we don't end up getting the results that we need out of this loan, we really could be in some trouble because of how much money that's costing us. And that's after selling Grimes. Just saying.
I'm not an accountant, but I've struggled to believe that when we're spending 2.8 million on Waddell in literally 3 months. That's just me.
But probably that's not all up front, is it?
The Grimes money won't all be up front.
Yeah, but that's part of the issue now, isn't it? So like the Lewis O'Brien money will be.
Was it 400k?
But as you're also paying his whatever wages he's on. I don't know what wages he's on, but it's probably quite a hefty sum. And like, there's no concrete information out there. It was bad last year in the summer. We were very close to that cusp of whatever the limit is. They've spoken about it a few times in the season, how they're navigating it, and that we don't have that much flexibility. So I'm just curious because we had some other weird decisions like Abdullah go in, for example, and we can't explain them necessarily. I'm just wondering, like, all the fans are united now against Grimes because of all of these things you've just discussed. But is there a scenario where he's taken it on the chin for the club because they needed money? Nobody seems to be exploring that, and I just find it weird how nobody seems to question that side. Yeah,
no, because why wouldn't the club?
Because this happened before so many times.
No, but why wouldn't the club communicate that? I mean, for the fact that he's been there for so long, and then
because why? Because they can't.
They'll be the villains then, won't they? They'd be the villains then, and also you're letting everyone know how much you're struggling with money.
They can't.
They wouldn't come out. No, but they wouldn't come out and say, obviously, oh, we're in really bad trouble here, so Grimes is going. But the communication around it would have been like, oh, we're really sorry to see Grimes go. There would have been montages everywhere of everything he's done and the goal scoring. And like, players like Cabango and all them would have been like putting messages up like, oh, great to play with you. And all we would have seen all that. We saw none of it. It was radio silence.
We had a tweet that was about 3 lines long, didn't we? That was
if he was going,
I'm just talking about hypotheticals here. Some of what you just said is exactly why I think it could be the case, because the club it's weird. It's a weird situation, but it's played directly into their hands in regards to like in a bad situation, which is the January transfer window, that's one thing that united the fans.
No, I don't know. I think Grimes would have been the last person you would have pushed out the door if you were in like that. If you were in that bad situation, I think
Who
you
else
would
are
have
you
looked
getting a
elsewhere.
decent sum of
Well,
money for?
you would have made sure that they sold Darlin in this window. They would have kicked him out. They would have kicked him out the door because obviously he's going to
True.
go in the summer. They would have been like, "Where do you want to go? Because we're taking you,
We
but we're
flat
not
out.
selling Grimes."
But
we
how much
flat
are you
out
going to get
refused
for
to
a
sell him.
Darlin that's out of contract in the summer?
Well, no, but I mean, like you said, if it's that bad, like if the situation's that bad, you'd be like, "What can we get for him?"
So like you've got to obviously balance the numbers by a certain deadline, yeah. So if say you've got like 500k for Darlin, that might not balance the numbers. So what's the point?
The only thing as well with the way it works on the profit. Doesn't it work on like player amortization or whatever it's called? So like Darling, we spent 2 million on, and we weren't going to get 2 million for him. But Abdullahi we got on a free, and Grimes we got for 1.5 mil. So because we turned profits on those players.
And who else are you going to sell for any sort of sum at the moment?
Other than Franco, he's only been here 6 months.
I'm just saying it's a weird situation for me. The whole thing is weird, and I think the easy option is to say it's the player, just a player. I'm done with him. All of this is weird. Like he's been really poor in all of this. I just think there's a little bit more to it than any of us know, and I think the club's quite happy having this scenario play out where we all just hate Grimes.
It's happened before with Roberts. I know that. Like he didn't even get offered a contract. But the difference is Grimes signed a new deal in the summer. And they would have been aware. They would have been aware of what our finances looked like as
But that
recently as 6
protects the
months
value
ago.
as well. The fact that he signed that deal protects the value.
If we're in an FFP struggle, I don't think giving him another pay jump when he still had 2 and a bit years to run on his deal is necessarily.
But I guess maybe back then they didn't. Obviously, we've been taken over since, haven't we? So like, I know Coleman was still here, but the ownership has changed since that deal was given out. So there is a different run-in of the finances.
I don't know. I'm struggling to see the point in making our highest earner an even higher earner 6 months before panic selling him at the end of January. That doesn't.
No, but this is what I'm saying. Like it's a completely different board, so you can't say the decision making is consistent.
I can still say they panic sold him at the end of January if the sole purpose was to raise funds.
Maybe I wouldn't put it past them. Is all I'm saying. I just don't think it's as straightforward as what it looks like. But maybe one day we'll see, and one day maybe we won't. I just find it quite like, I don't know. I've never seen something like it, to be honest. I think players have left in worse ways.
It's also the fact we still clearly had more funds to spend if we're talking about how close we were to FFP because there were failed moves.
Yeah, but again, did this is another part of it though? Did we, or is that just all smoke and mirrors?
The boy from
we've had that before.
The boy from Salzburg, it feels like that one. It was from incompetence, but yeah, I felt like that one would have been a runner if it wasn't for certain things on Salzburg's end. Yeah,
was that Bobby
Clark?
Bobby. We never know, will we? And obviously, Luke Williams came out and spoke about some of the failings around January. I would like to be a fly on the wall with some of these things that happen there. It's just I just find it there's a lot of odd things going on. Whether it's the way the whole Grimes things went, or the way the January window went, it just doesn't seem like a club being managed very well at the moment, whatever capacity you're looking at it.
We've said it before. It's a club with about 20 different executives near the top. Too many people sat around the table, and you have too many voices in the same room, and everyone wants to head in 2 different directions, and that's how you end up with, no clear idea of what the best thing to do is, and yeah, that's how January happens. It's weird, isn't it? With so many people near the top, but then people not in key positions. Like we've just hired as a director of football.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about the games. We can go back to Bristol in a minute. Do you want to talk about him since you mentioned him?
Yeah. So Notts County link coming in again from Luke Williams. This Richard Montague, new director of football. Since Paul Watson left last October, and Paul Watson's reign it looks worse and worse as time progresses, doesn't it? If you look at what's happened with most of the players he's signed. But yeah, Montague seems like most of his experience is in analysis. 14 years spent at a company called Football Radar, which you want somebody with young, set of new ideas with them. Perhaps the lack of senior experience at bigger football clubs is a worry. I think Notts County was his first job in senior football. And not to say he hasn't had success, but all I'd say, just something we shouldn't forget, is that club had far more resources than most of the clubs at the same level when they came up through the National League, same time as Wrexham. But yeah, you can't have a go at him until he's actually got his feet under the table and started having a go. My only worry is I think the system we have in place has no continuity. I think it's very reliant on individuals doing very well, but then we have such a high turnover of staff is a concern. And quite often, I think when key members of staff, like a director of football, head of recruitment, managers, whatever, leave, I think they take knowledge with them. And I think you're just pressing the reset button every single time this happens. And that's why we can never really get anything going on a consistent basis. So I hope he comes in and does well. What we really need to do, though, is we need to implement a system where we have continuity, one where you take one cog out of the machine and the machine still carries on working. That goes for players, that goes for managers, that goes for directors of football, recruitment, analysis, or whatever you want to call them. I feel like he could come in and do well, but if he's bad, we'll sack him. If he's good, he'll get poached, and then we'll click reset again. So short term, he could do all right, but long term, I feel like we need to have a major rethink as a club, to be honest, about how we operate in the transfer market, because we're just chasing our tail all the time.
Yeah.
Isn't this whole system meant to be so that it's more continuous than the manager, for example, and the playing style that they're looking at, like recruiting for the club rather than the moment? But
that's the idea behind it. But then when I think we probably go through more heads of recruitment and directors of football than we do managers. We're pretty good with managers. Michael Duff aside, and like caretakers, we definitely have less managers than the average team.
Yeah.
But we've had Paul Watson. We had that. Didn't we have somebody? I forget his name now. Who came in from Celtic, and he wasn't here long either.
did he go to like Chelsea or something?
I don't know. I think he came in initially as like head of youth recruitment.
Marsh.
Marsh was here. That's somebody else again. I'm thinking of a different person on top. This is what I mean. There's been so many. I can't even name them all anymore. Marsh, I don't even know what he was doing here. I don't know what his role actually.
We had one who went to the Premier League club. I'm not sure it was him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We had one guy
shouting out to me.
Yeah, loan manager. That's what he's gone to Chelsea for. And, and wasn't there a time where they didn't have anyone out on loan? So it's like, what was he doing there? Some people get jobs. Like I don't know the guy. I'm not having a pop you if somebody is listening or whatever. But it's just more of a failing of us.
I think all of these different roles that bounce around within football clubs are just like under the money agent paydays, under the table agent paydays. A lot of times.
I don't know.
Alan Curtis was a loan manager for us before, wasn't he?
There's loads of stuff that goes on like that, isn't there?
They just create a role because they want to keep someone around the club, like.
But with this guy anyway, Montague, key thing is he's got over a decade worth of experience, directly in a company that would have dealt in data, would have dealt in player analysis. He'll know what a good player looks like himself, but hopefully he'll also have good, links networking from that time as well. Hopefully, if he knows anyone from Notts County, that's good. He'll take them with him. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I guess my only concern is hasn't been around. You don't want somebody who's just been on the football merry-go-round either. Don't get me wrong, because that may mean if they're not very up to much themselves. But one job in his career, like in a football club, and it was at somebody in National League 2, is a big jump. Whichever way you want to spin it, is a huge jump. And he isn't going to be the only person running things. He brought in a director of football. From what I read, I don't think he alone would be able to operate. He'd need somebody to be coming in, handling the negotiation side of it, because that's not what he does. And we've seen we can't trust Andy Coleman to do that. I'm sorry.
I thought, and this is just me because I didn't know much about it, but I thought that's what he was coming in to do, was the negotiation side of it, because the way that obviously Williams and things are coming out now about the transfer window, was that was what seriously let us down.
He'll be the ones identifying who we go for. I don't think he'll be the one actually doing the negotiations for them.
Great.
That's how I took it anyway. So that would be another spot to fill again, which somehow we haven't filled. Like I don't have a list of them all, but you know what I mean, don't you? When I say that there's a good dozen people near the top of this football club, and I don't know what they do. There's so many of them, probably on big salaries as well. When we're talking about like FFP and all this, and it's like genuinely, you could get rid of half of them, and things probably wouldn't change at all.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens. I guess we won't really see much until summer, I'd imagine.
Well, he's lucky in the way Waddell's already coming in, so he can he can somewhat take credit for that when he comes in, even though he hasn't been here in a stupid way. Because you'll see a lot. I know he shouldn't take credit for it. And I know he won't actually come out and take credit for it. But on his track record, he would have come in February, and people will forget one day. They'll forget, oh, this guy's coming in the summer. That's a good spot by the head of football, sporting director, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Lewis O'Brien then, considering he came in as it's kind of the only person that came in after we did the last video?
Yeah, good signing. I remember back from Huddersfield a few years ago. I remember him being more tack-in than, Mac Grimes, which is what a lot of people thought he'd come in and replace. He's not really like Mac Grimes. Against Bristol City, as we'll get on to in a minute, he played next to Franco, don't get me wrong, so he appeared as like a deeper midfielder on the team sheet at least. But in reality, whereas Grimes is somebody who will get tons and tons of touches of the ball. I know we always say pass sideways and backwards. He plays forward plenty as well, as we know. O'Brien's one who thrives more on dribbling. The best comparison I can probably make is he's a bit like Ollie Cooper, except he's more agile and he actually knows when to release the ball. I think that's Ollie Cooper's biggest weakness. For me, he runs into players a lot. O'Brien, it's a lot more difficult to get the ball off of. And we saw that against Bristol City. First half, not so much, where first half everyone was playing poor. But second half, brilliant driving with the ball, brilliant on the half turn, spinning his man. And he probably could have let fly once or twice, but chose not to. Shows he is somebody who will look to play on to someone else and keep us moving forward. So very good signing. I think we spent a lot on him from what I've read. I think I saw the loan fee was 400,000 plus, probably covering his wages. And that's a Premier League pay packet. Huge money for us, that is. I think other clubs wanted him, ones that were closer to home. There was rumours coming out the day before deadline day. His partner's pregnant and he wants to stay closer to home. So I think what I want to say was Preston and Blackburn who were pushing for him, but they weren't getting anywhere near what we were offering, which was obviously nearly £500,000 loan fee plus wages. That shows how desperate we were. The fact that's for a 6-month loan as well, keep in mind, not a full season. And it's something we needed to do. I do honestly think it could end up being a huge signing for us. It could steer us away from a relegation battle. When we first got linked with him, the first thing I said is he could be the difference between relegation and survival in the right system. Didn't actually think we'd sign him and didn't think he'd be the only one to come in at that point in time, mind. But he's got big shoes to fill now. And we saw Lee put a tweet out, didn't you, on our Twitter? There's a little clip of him making that block, quite a crucial block. And on his debut, you can see the passion he has straight away. So it'll probably go down alongside Franco Viguru by the end of the season. That's probably one of the biggest signings of the season, to be honest. I do think he'll have that sort of impact as long as he stays fit. We actually probably have a midfield now. Him and Franco, there's still one short in terms of like a perfect midfield three for me. So there will still be issues.
It would have been great if he came in and the other one didn't leave, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I do feel like Grimes leaving probably triggered it in terms of his salaries off the books. Because he was on like 20.
Was he not linked before?
O'Brien?
Yeah, he must have been on the radar before.
I mean, we probably after him, but I thought the link popped up as Grimes was leaving.
We weren't really after looking like anyone until Grimes went, were we? Like he was kind of quiet until
we were linked with Joe Lowe for 3 weeks, and that was
we
about it.
Yeah, we were looking at we were looking at defenders, and then we were looking at like people for the summer. So
yeah,
the only issue I have with the whole situation is I like the signing, and it looks like he's made a good impact, and I do feel a lot better after Bristol. But Del Craz, he's had a good time, I think, since coming as well. He looks a good player. But they both, I don't normally have an issue with loan. It's just because Grimes has gone as like an ever-present player, if you like. Rather, he's not just a player in our squad. He's someone that literally started week in, week out for us. Like O'Brien's gone in the summer as well. So it's just
like for like for
rebuild.
O'Brien, though.
Yeah, Waddell's coming in.
Waddell's like for O'Brien.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Waddell's coming in, but he's untested at this level, isn't he? As much as he looks exciting.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming in for 2.8 million. I think 2.8 million if you buy domestically gets you somebody from League One who needs.
I'm hoping that it will be fine. So. I thought he was a bit further forward than O'Brien, though.
Yeah, he probably is. But the thing is, O'Brien will sit deeper for us because he has to, just because we don't have the personnel. If Grimes was here, it would be Grimes deeper with Franco a little bit further forward, and then O'Brien probably a little bit further forward again. It's
I think
Go on, sorry, Lee.
No, sorry, I was just going to say I think it makes sense, like in the sense that like he's not a like for like replacement for Grimes in terms of the way that he plays, but in terms of like quality and experience, I think we just had to have someone like that come in to replace him. Hence, I think like that was the desperation of it. I think again, going back to it, I think we were caught so cold by it. I think we just had to.
I think it's been solved
somehow.
fine. Yeah, I think it was fine under the circumstances.
Ideally, we wouldn't have loans, obviously. I think because they've said in the past, like in our summer window was pretty good at the time. We didn't really rely heavily on loans. We brought in like Vigouroux and Franco and some they didn't rely on the loans, but I think because of the time frame they had, I think that was probably the best they could do. And like Ben said about like the money that we paid to manage to drag him down to Swansea when he's from like Nottingham, where he's from, is he? Like Huddersfield, I think he's from, is he? So I can't remember, but to drag him down here, we've obviously paid more than we would normally. So I think it was just a bit of a best we could do in that.
Yeah, and I think it's a good signing under the circumstances. I'm just kind of forward thinking to the summer and like what's next.
I think of that. It was I agree with you as well. I just think at the time now when we look back, I think like this could be the real like we'll come onto the game as well. I think this could be a massive turning point because I think the way that we were going, and like I was going back to like the Coventry game when I went down to the concourse at half time. It was like, oh my God, it was the first time I think it hit home when we were like, we are actually really in trouble this season. Like Grimes had gone and we saw what the performance was. And I think we were just really in trouble. I think we were going nowhere fast. And I know there's a long way to go in the season yet. But I think at that point, I think everything was out the window and it was, can we just bring someone in, anyone in, just to get us over the line to the summer? I think it's a shame because it's almost like a lost season now, isn't it? It's just, can we just stay up and go to the summer and start again? And I think that's what we had to do. We had to just plug the gap. And I think he seems like he's, based on his performance against Bristol City, I think it's going to be hopefully a good like half the season from him.
The one that got away was it Jason Wright? Is that his name?
Jason?
Jacob Wright?
Jacob. Yeah, and it would begin with a J. Jacob Wright, he ended up going to Norwich instead.
Yeah.
He's the one that Luke Williams referred to in his press conference as, what did he say? He duped us. Basically.
Well, he had a medical booked and didn't turn up for it, apparently. That's what I heard.
Well, he was in the training ground the day before, wasn't he?
Yeah, for talks. And then obviously the medical got booked for the day after. And he
made it out like I think Luke Williams was trying to say the club was a bit naive and the agent of the players probably playing them a little bit to try and raise interest. I think if it was the only option by the end of the day, he probably would have ended up coming.
Yeah.
But I think he was like, time's running out to the window. Let's look like we're going somewhere. Maybe that would trigger other interest last minute, and that's what happened.
Can't blame him too much. I'd rather go to Norwich from a footballing perspective as well. Not from a place perspective. I'd rather Swansea, but
yeah, no, I think the question is about the club just getting the deal done, and it like just stop relying on hearsay and verbal agreements.
This is what I mean, though, because like Luke Williams sort of touched on it, and he kind of made out like that we were a bit naive and we didn't have the people in place to kind of get the deal done before other people came sniffing, and that's why I thought this football director, I thought that's what he was coming in to do. I thought this was going to fix that, but then maybe not.
Identify the talent.
Yeah. So, but by all accounts, identifying the talent, I mean, by all accounts, that would have been a great signing if we could have got it over the line.
The targets weren't too bad considering it's a rudderless ship with nobody really steering it.
So maybe the data-driven stuff is working. It's just like it's one thing finding the options. It's just getting them in. You just need like an old head that's been there and done it throughout the Football League for many years in terms January's
of
hard,
getting people in. January is hard, yeah, definitely. But you kind of need someone to get these deals over the line, don't you?
I still miss Trevor Birch. I can't lie to you both.
Yeah, it's the best one we ever had. I think we're never going to get to that again. But yeah, January. I think like I'm not trying to excuse them at all because I'm annoyed at them as well. But I like compared to the summer where we did probably make some good decisions in transfers. I feel like they can be patient to do that in the summer. You can't in January, and I think that's what they can't deal with. Really,
it's always a tough window, but we always seem to lose. There aren't many winners in January, but we never seem to be one of them, do we?
No, it's usually Hull, isn't it? Hull buying an entirely new squad every January.
Yeah. I think like Luke Williams touched on it again in his press conference. He said like they had like plans and they didn't really. Well, he sort of said they didn't have many plans in place today, and then they were running around on the last couple of days. But they've got to have more. They've got to
Well,
have more of an idea going into January.
He made out like Andy Coleman seemed to think more was going on than it was, and then when he turned up on the last day and realised it wasn't, he kind of lost it a bit. And
Yeah,
trying for everyone, when we
he said like he put like he said some amazing things in that press conference, by the way, and he said something along the lines of like he trusted people that were like basically not good enough for their job, didn't he? He threw them right under the bus. He said,
and that's the comment that I think has riled a lot of the fan base up as well, isn't it? So there's a lot of people criticising him for that comment.
Why?
I not me personally. I've seen a lot of people not happy with the way that he thrown a lot of the backroom team under the bus. I think he said he was the most experienced person at the club, didn't he, in regards to being in the Football League?
Yeah, but he's probably right, and that's why we didn't sign him.
I think it's the way that he's trying to say it's all of their fault, and
it's one thing.
I'm better than them. That's what it came across as to a lot of people. I think
it's one thing to criticize people. It's another thing, particularly when you're not on about players. You're not on about your staff that you work with, like on the management team. You're on about players you probably don't see on a day-to-day basis. So it's another thing to criticize them publicly, because they're not public-facing, the people he's talking about. That's not part of their job description. In a way, that helps them, because we don't know who they are when he's saying like, "Oh, they're not good enough." But that's going to make them feel rubbish. Not being funny. They're probably on about 30 grand a year. They're working 60-hour weeks in those sort of departments. Trust me, there's no such thing as weekends with some of these people.
And to be fair, Swans apparently are one of the lowest paid, like any job within the Swans now, non-football related. The club's been heavily criticised in the recent years for being very, very poor for the what they're paying the staff. So like these people, I guess Ben's referring to there, having them comments. I do understand why it's not very nice.
But I didn't take it as, if that's the case, then yeah, fair enough. But I didn't take it as like, staff that are on 30 grand a year. I thought he was talking about people that are a lot higher than that. Like people sort of just underneath.
No, but like you'd be surprised that some of those people that you're thinking of right now are not on a good wage.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But I mean, like if somebody's on like, a normal wage, like 30 grand a year, I can't, like, if he did, then it's just not right. But I can't see him meaning those type of people. And
he can be on about anyone. Is the thing. It's always left to the imagination of his press conference. He could be on about two people. I took it as he was on about like a dozen. To be honest with you, he seemed to tear down the entire department.
He basically said, like, I've got so much more experience, and all of these people are making all of these decisions, and they're all rubbish. That's basically what it.
But in like, I guess like again, like Ben's right, because he said like he could say one thing, and we've probably all taken it differently. And like in my head, it was. I'd imagined like Coleman had like kind of people underneath him trying to negotiate these deals. I can't imagine there's like someone on like 25 to 30 grand a year trying to negotiate with an agent.
You'd be surprised
on the club's behalf. Like,
I don't think it's necessarily.
There's got to be like senior executives involved in those discussions. So that's what I thought he meant. That obviously Coleman had trusted these people to kind of get these deals done. And they have no footballing. Well, yeah, they have no footballing experience, like no sort of kind of maybe business knowledge, but no like football. Again, I could be totally wrong, but that's how I took it. That those were the people he was kind of saying.
Deadline day would
have been so why we needed a football director.
Yeah, deadline day would have been so manic. I wouldn't have been surprised if the kit man was ringing people up, just asking, "Is anyone available?" I wish I was joking as well. But
I kind of saw as Luke Williams was saying he felt sorry for Coleman because he tried really hard after coming in and discovering what a mess of a situation it was.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking them.
But then
Andy Coleman's
he's the one to
passion
put those people
whatsoever.
into the positions. So
yeah, I'm not knocking his passion whatsoever, but I'm struggling to believe the story of turning up on deadline day and not realizing how bad it was. Where have you been for the last month?
What have you been doing? Like turning up with hours left on the window. Well, we haven't signed like 4 players.
But bear in mind, he's like someone that apparently has flown to like Slovenia to go and spend time with Vapotnik before convincing him to sign.
As again, not knocking his passion. That's what the summer window gives you. That's what we were just on about. That's like,
patience.
You can do.
Well, maybe that's what he was. Maybe he was in like Liechtenstein or something, eyeing up the next summer's January recruitment.
What he was doing is he put all hands on deck getting Waddell over the line.
Yeah, he was out there. He was having a coffee.
Well, maybe. I'm
not saying he went to Denmark necessarily or Sweden, wherever he was, but he did focus a lot of attention on that, which obviously believe that's a really good signing, and only time will tell if it will be. But we could end up being in League One by the time he gets here. That's the issue, isn't
I
it?
know you'd think obviously with the position that we were in, and like I said, after that Coventry game, the feeling that from myself as well, I don't know how you boys felt, but I thought like we are in real trouble here. So you'd have
Yeah,
thought they would have been all hands on deck after that game.
what we were discussing in the stadium was name after that Coventry game, name 3 teams who are worse than us, and I said probably Plymouth, and
And then they go beat Liverpool.
and then maybe Derby. I couldn't name a third, even Luton. I'm waiting for Luton to come good.
Nah, Luton are poor. They spent some money in January, but they're not doing well.
But yeah,
at all.
No,
that
they
they're
sacked
not.
Rob
I could see
Edwards
them
yet.
like I could see them like they sacked Rob Edwards, didn't they? Didn't they bring in?
It still hasn't changed. This form's still horrendous.
Who did they bring in?
Wickham manager, wasn't it?
That's it. Yeah, I think it was the Wickham manager.
But they still haven't won since he's come in.
No, but I could just see like Luton, having enough to kind of scrape out of it. But obviously we've not seen it yet. But I thought they might scrape out of it.
But yeah, it's like you said though, Lee. After that game, that was the Saturday, and the deadline day was 2 days later, wasn't it?
Terry's going to go down.
Oh, it might have been actually. Yeah, it was quite late, wasn't it?
So
Terry's
I agree.
down.
So go on.
Derby, because Eustace has just done what was done to him, sort of, at Birmingham to Blackburn. So Karma will suggest he's going to take them down.
Nah,
That's so
crazy though. I was
Eustace-
gone from 6th place Blackburn to
Yeah,
at the time relegation zone Derby because they were in the 20. They're drawn at the moment, aren't they? So they're climbing out of it, but.
he has
Yeah,
some
it's crazy,
connection to the
crazy.
club, but that's one of the more bizarre ones because you're potentially signing up to be a League One manager next year. And this is a guy who had a conceivable chance of getting promoted to the Premier League. It's a crazy one. If I was manager of Blackburn and Swans came after me now, I'd be telling them no, even though I'm a Swans fan. It's bizarre, honestly, but there we are.
Yeah, weird. I can't put my head around that.
I believe as well, like how many
is.
on that as well. It's just how many. I think is it like only a handful of teams in the bottom half haven't sacked their manager this season. It's like an absolute.
Yeah, us.
Yeah, it's an absolute like fire job in the
Well, run
championship
through
this year.
them. Plymouth have, Luton have, Hull have,
Yeah,
Derby
yeah.
have, Cardiff.
Yeah.
They started with.
Bullet.
Oh no, they started with
sacked
Bullock. Yeah, they
Bullock,
have.
yeah.
Stoke have. Portsmouth haven't. We haven't. Oxford have. Preston have. Millwall, I want to say have.
Have they?
Yeah,
Didn't-
because Rowett's
didn't-
back in, isn't he? It was
Did
Oh,
they
yeah,
sack
they-
Harris early doors?
Harris.
Yeah.
Didn't he leave? Did he?
No, he
I can't
left,
remember.
didn't he?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
right.
been happened. Yeah.
And then Watford haven't, but they're
Yeah.
supposedly about to sack
Well, that's
Cleverley.
been
So if
He's going
Cleverley
tonight,
goes,
isn't he?
yeah, if Cleverley goes now, then it's literally just who did I say? Us and
God,
Portsmouth.
QPR in 12th.
yeah,
Portsmouth. Yeah.
That's crazy. They were like
Portsmouth, yeah.
relegation fodder, really.
they
It's-
did look gone at one point, didn't they?
This league is horrendous. Like again, it's like that tight thing in the middle pack again. Like I couldn't believe Bristol City would, if they'd beaten us, they would have gone into the playoffs. Like where did
Yeah,
that come from?
Yeah, thing is though, there's still only 3 points between Blackburn in 6th and Watford in 13th, who are about to sack their manager.
Yes.
One win. That's all it is.
And you said it with
7th
Bristol,
places.
like that was us a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we were there. We were
Yeah.
9th.
Or like
Do you wanna
that one
talk
win
about
away
that game
from
now?
going in. Yeah. We
Speaking
go
of Bristol
into it.
City.
Bit more positive to kind of end all of that stuff. I mean, what's happened now, innit? We've got to deal with it for the rest of the season. Grimes is gone. We got the signings that have come in. That's what we've got. So I think we're going to see a new look Swansea going forward. And the Bristol City game, it did start off, and Ben was there, so Ben would be best off to talk. I think we all watched it, but you were at the stadium, so it'd be interesting to know your feelings through the game because I feel like it would have changed. It did get better towards the end of the first half, but after the first half, I was like, I don't know about this because I think Bristol should have been at least 2-0 up at half time, if we're being honest. But we definitely grew into the game, so I don't know whether like the fact that Bristol didn't score helped us get a bit more confident in what we were doing. And Ronald, for example, looked very suspect at the beginning of the match, but he grew into what was a new role for him, being a wing back, which is a bit weird to say that Ronald was playing wing back. but it seems to work in the end. Second half was probably one of the best second half performances we've had all season, and second halves have been a massive Achilles heel for us. So it was good to see that that's changed. I don't know whether it was the case of the squad just wanted to, show their togetherness, their grit, their determination. I feel like all of those things shone through, which is something that maybe was a little bit missing in recent games and has been questioned to some degree. But I think there was no question in the effort and passion, I guess, that they showed in this game. So credit to them, because I've been on Luke Williams' back quite a lot in the last month or so. So I'll have to pat him on the back for this one, because he has tried swiftly addressing things after Grimes has gone in regards to what we're doing on the pitch. Maybe quite brave and hard to do this stage of the season, and it's not going back to something tried and tested, which is kind of what he did when he first came in a year ago. It's going back to, it's just something new in it. It's something different for all of them. So, but it paid off in this one, and like you've already mentioned, Bristol were eyeing up playoffs with a win here, and I think it would have been like a record-breaking streak for them winning at home in however many years as well. So it was a big deal to go there and win. Did you say, Lee, it was only like third team to win at Bristol this season?
Yeah, I think it was only, Sheffield United and Burnley, I think. So it was two of like the top teams that beat them at home, and that was the only time they've lost at home all season.
So Ben, do you want to share your experiences of the day?
Yeah, so turn up, nice, only 1.5 hour commute, which is rare on a Swans away day. First time I've been, to be fair, nice around the ground, parked for free. There's just loads of residential houses nearby. So
any fighting?
No, I didn't start any this time. Like, no, I'm joking. no fighting, of course not.
There usually is at Bristol. To be fair, we saw some when we went up for the cup game a couple of years
I'm
ago.
gutted because, I think I've been to every Bristol City away game in the last 3 or 4 seasons, and because we played them twice away in one year, didn't we? Because we went to the cup game as well.
Yeah, the cup.
And every time is always trouble in that park outside of the way end. So it's just it's a Sunday and
the police presence was loads, so to be fair. So
that's why
you had the away end, and the stands weren't connected. You had a corner part down the bottom left of the away end, which it's a little paved area where there was literally about 60-70 police and security.
That's where they all jumped through before, isn't it?
Yeah. And it was a good 40 people who jumped through before. And also, weirdly, they had obviously all that police presence. They also had, I think it may be Magnas. They had giant inflatable apples that were for
Thatchers, probably.
Yeah, Thatchers, that's probably right. And they placed them in between the two stands as well. So you'd have to it'd be total wipeout. You'd have to jump on these massive red balls to get over to the home end. But no, the atmosphere was somber before we started. I'm not gonna lie, there was chanting, but when I say atmosphere, when we actually if you want to speak to someone and say, how do you think this game's gonna go? Straight after Coventry, wasn't it? So nobody was predicting a win. I think we did predictions last minute. I said 3-1 to Bristol City. Luke said the game went optimistic 2-2. Lee went 2-0 Bristol City.
So I was closest again. I'm just on form.
Everyone in the ground basically was at the away end. We weren't expecting a good performance or a good result. And the first half, it was a little bit better than Coventry, and that's not saying much because it was bad. I think the Guru, how many times did he punt it forward?
Well, he had man of the match. So
no, I know. I will give him his credit, but saves wise, brilliant. But I guess my criticism here isn't of the Guru in particular; it's of the lack of knowledge of what we're meant to be doing again. Because
sorry, I thought you were going to talk about his saves in the first half, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah, his saves in the first half are brilliant, deserve it man of the match. But I'm all about our first half performance, which we were set up in this 3-4-2-1, reminiscent of Russell Martin, the way it was set up, if we're being honest. Not the way we were playing, but the 2 cams behind the striker, the wing backs, 3 defenders. But yeah, we just didn't know what to do in terms of playing the ball forward. We got given the ball by Bristol City. They were happy for us to have it. But until the ball got back to the Guru, at which point they triggered a press. Then he punted forward. You'd have Timon trying to win the first ball, but because he was being pinned back by the Bristol City wingers, he was in our own half when the ball was going forward. So there was nobody anywhere near where the first ball and then evidently the second ball was. And like you say, Bristol City then was able to retain possession. We were giving away cheap fouls. I saw something before the game. It was these are good odds, 10-1 Bristol City to score set piece against Swansea. And I didn't think we'd been that bad recently. I didn't realize they'd been that good either. But every time a set piece went in, we were just waiting for them to score, weren't we? They were queuing up. They had tons of space for Guru.
Yeah,
the first save where he tipped it over the bar, it was it was his forearm he saved it with. It
Oh,
was
it was a hell of a
instinct,
save.
really. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the big one was the one to his bottom left. He didn't get too much
Oh,
on
yeah.
it. Whoever
Yeah, he
struck
got
it.
like a fingernail on it or something
That was
ridiculous.
such a
Tipped
good
out of the
save.
post.
Yeah, it's the sort of saves that it's the difference between winning and losing. It's the one
Oh,
I always dig him out. I don't do it like doing it with players, but Andy Fisher, we lose that game if we're being honest. So those
Yeah.
2 goals go in.
Yeah.
We're 2-0 down half time, game done. That's the difference that a big keeper, a quality keeper gives you. And we go in half time, and I was like, it's a miracle. It's 0-0. It's an absolute miracle. We booed them off, our own players.
Did you? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't. Obviously, I'm a brilliant supporter, but but no, plenty of boos. I think the last 7 minutes or so, exact number I know, last 7 minutes or so of the first half, we were just chanting sideways and backwards every time we were getting the ball, like in an ironic
Grimes wasn't
way.
playing.
Yeah, that was the ironic part, wasn't it? Like the fact we were still doing it, but Grimes wasn't there. All of a sudden, you take Grimes out of the team, and lo and behold, you can't go forward anymore. It's crazy that, isn't it? But our second half, we come out, and all I'd say is there's a reason to be optimistic. I think it's a blueprint for how we should play away from home, not at home. But I think it's crucial we scored when we did. We had about a 10-minute spell, and this was coming. The goal came towards the end of that spell, where usually it's the sort of thing we don't capitalise on it, do we? And we say, "Oh, that's where we needed to score," and we
Second
did.
ball, like sort of
Well, it was consistent pressure. Like we were going
Yeah.
forward. We'd
well.
have a shot blocked or a cross cleared, and we were winning the ball back straight away. And that's what they were doing to us in the first half. We had that for a little bit. Fortunate in a way with the goal. I'm not saying it wasn't a good move, but fortunate in the sense of after Franco did well dribbling forward, Vipotnik took a heavy touch. Not intended as a pass for Franco. It was a heavy touch. Franco did the right thing, shoot a cross goal. That's always what you're told. Keeper couldn't have done much worse. It's an easy one to parry out, if we're being honest. Tymon's the only player anywhere near where the ball's going to drop to, and he couldn't have put him more on a path to him. Did well to keep his head, Tymon, because of the bouncing balls coming towards him quick. It's one of the ones where on the open goal, it looks easy. He could have easily got that wrong.
Lee movie might come in here. Sorry.
But took the goal well. He did, and we were deserving to go 1-0 up. If you're just looking at it in the second half, like Luke, you said, usually we drop off second half. This was hopefully something which breaks our psychological trend now, because it is something that's psychological. There's no reason for us to be playing so badly straight after the second half begins.
And
but
we should have got 2-0 up.
This should have been Um's first goal, if we're being honest, shouldn't it?
Oh,
O'Brien, this was his best moment of the match. O'Brien challenges well for 50-50 in the air, has no right win in the header, does anyway. Latches onto the ball, head up. Perfect ball in for him, who made a good run, went centre of the post. Didn't have to change his stride at all onto his right foot. The mistake he made, for me, is he lunges for the ball, because I don't think he needed to.
Yeah.
I think he could have stayed on his feet. And it's one of those ones, either side of the keeper goes in, doesn't it? And it's straight of the keeper, but because he'd lunged, he's on the floor by then, so he couldn't hit in the rebound. If he had stayed on his feet, it's an easy tap in. And what did annoy me, it didn't look so bad on TV, but the referee was the 12th man for them in that rebound, because Tymon was gearing up to hit the rebound himself, and the ref couldn't have blocked him off any better if he tried.
Oh, I know. He apologised to him straight away, didn't he?
Yeah.
I didn't see him on telly how bad it was, but
it looked worse in the ground than on TV, admittedly. And it did look an easier chance for him than it did on TV, because I guess in the ground you forget the fact he's hitting it on the full. It is more difficult.
I think he should score it.
He should score. I'm not saying he shouldn't score.
Yeah.
But
you're not getting an easier chance.
And after full time, even though we'd won, he was so annoyed with himself. We were all panting him still, but he had his head in his hands. He was like, chucking his arms. Good attitude, don't get me wrong, because you want to have that moment for yourself. You want to have that burst of confidence. But yeah, it was backs the ball after that. Like, we still were creating like little chances here and there, but it was block after block after block. We did invite pressure a little bit. We knew, didn't we? You go 1-0 up with the ground like that, you got more to lose and to gain by like trying to overcommit and go forward. So I guess the point I was leading to is, yes, it's a reason to be optimistic, but if that goal didn't go in when it did, for me, I'm not sure the game would have carried out the same way. So
I think we just needed to win ugly, or however we got the points. Like that's all that we needed at the time. I can't still talk about, I guess, alluding to what you just said. It's hard to still talk about what's next, what we're going to do going forward. Maybe tomorrow's night's game will be a bigger signal of that. I don't know. We need to see it over a bit of a sample, probably. And I do think the rest of the season is going to be a bit of a transition, just a bit like get over the line. Get over the line and rebuild in the summer. I don't know what to expect at home against Sheffield Wednesday still. But I obviously feel a lot better about it now because at the end of the day, what was it like? What's the date today? The 11th. What were we, Tuesday? So 9th of February until we had our first win of the year.
Yeah, crazy.
And it was looking bad, wasn't it? Before we've already spoke about it already. So like, regardless of how it came, the fact that it come, I think is a big deal. So it just eases the pressure. So then they can work on what they're gonna do, what the new system is. I guess they can still work on that, but I can't really talk about. I don't have confidence in talking about what that is yet.
I think Botnick needs to play. That's one thing I was just going to say. Second half, you saw we had no idea what to do in the first half. Second half, our plan was just get the ball into his feet, and in the end, that's where a couple of chances came early doors, and that changed the game a little bit. And he hasn't been featuring recently, is my point. When times are tough, you just stick the big lump on up front, and you get the ball near him and get players around him. As basic as it sounds, and it worked. So.
Yeah, I just think we desperately needed that win. However it came, I think like if we were going to win that game, we knew what it was going to be like. We knew the first half was going to be difficult, and I think you're right. If either of those chances go in with Vigouroux's save, I think they go on and probably win like 2 or 3-0, and we're staring down the barrel again, just because of our form and their form at home, which we talked about. But we just needed to ride out our luck a bit in that first half. But then saying that, like I know Vigouroux made 2 like quality saves, but Norton's ball through to Ronald, he's got to do better.
Oh, I forgot about that as well. Yeah,
that was in the first half, and the Potnick's one where he tries to chip the keeper. Those are 2 really good chances. I think like they don't look as good because Vigouroux's made saves, but they should be forcing the keeper to make a better save there.
To be fair,
there's kind of 2 big chances there for us in the first half as well, but we did have to ride our luck a bit, and then we kind of settled because it was a new system playing away against a team that's in form. We were in horrendous form, so I expected us to struggle in that first half. But once we kind of rode out our luck, we just needed to dig in, and it's just going to be like a performance that was just worth more than 3 points, but just needed it massive.
If it makes you feel better with that, the XG was 1.75.
On which one?
For us.
I was about to look at that, yeah.
And,
I think both of them.
No, for the game.
So we had 1.75 XG, they had 1.04. I think chance was 0.52 on his own.
And then big chances created, Swansea had 4, Bristol had none, which shocks me because Vigouroux's saves were really, like, they were going in. But whatever. Maybe, the shot didn't come from a chance that's considered a big chance, I guess.
It was...
Bristol had 19 shots to we had 9. Considering,
I think it was like the two Vigouroux saves, and then the post in the second half.
He saved that though.
Yeah, he says he did get a touch on that as well. To be fair, that was a good save. Can't think, a lot of the other shots were just blocked, weren't they? They grew through bodies.
So like that O'Brien block they celebrated as well was quality.
Yeah.
It's good to see stuff like that.
But like they were 2 big chances for us in the first half. Ronald's got to do so much better, and Vipotnik probably decision to try and the keeper was off his line. It was probably the right decision, but he like just didn't execute it as well. So if one of them goes in as well in the first half, that could have been.
Can I just highlight? You just mentioned him already, but I thought Kyle Norton was outstanding.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
in the centre of the back 3, back where Russell Martin used to have him. That ball that you mentioned was. No one else in the team's doing that. Now Grimes has gone. For him to step up and play that ball, that's like, it shows the experience. 36 years old, isn't he? So like, he's not going to play on tomorrow, unfortunately. No. Like, he's not. Even if we wanted him, like, Darlin's back, luckily. So he's clearly going to slot back in there. But it's a shame because I do feel like that helped a lot.
It wasn't the only time. It wasn't the only time he made that pass as well. He did it a second time. I can't remember who it was to. We made it through their back line twice in that first half. Only twice. That's how bad it was. And it was Norton twice.
Yeah, I think Norton plays the ball to Vipotnik as well, like over the top when he tries to chip the keeper.
Yeah.
Norton.
I think the thing is, he's right to chip it as well. Like you say, it's just the way the ball was bouncing. I think rather than on the way down, which is the better way to chip somebody, he tried chipping it as the ball was rising. And it's so much more difficult then to like execute the shot correctly.
It reminded me of like when you start playing next year's FIFA game and they change the way the chip power works. And do you know what I mean? Like in some games you
Yeah,
do
you
it a
just
little
get it
bit and
wrong.
it's like in every time, and then the next game they've changed it, so you do the same power and it's just a pass back to the keeper. That's what it reminded me of back playing FIFA back in the day. But
I think
I'd say all in all, it was a banging day though. I could barely speak the night of and the morning after. Because you saw a full time when I think Franco won a corner with about 30 seconds to go. We celebrated that like a goal. Honestly,
he was tapping a badge and stuff funny or something.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. I think it's just I like we can pick apart the game, and like you said, we have to ride our luck, but like just the way the game panned out, like with us just throwing bodies everywhere and people hitting the badge and like having the huddle in front of the away end after the games. We just needed that. It's worth so much more than 3 points because that's just that. Like we said, obviously there's a long way to go, and I'm not getting ahead of myself, but that could change a season. Like a performance like that and a win could just change a season.
What the camera didn't pick up as well was Franco giving the camera a little wink just before tapping the badge as well, which obviously only the away end got to see.
Any other performances? I'd like to highlight. I can't say his name. Hans
Delcroix. It's the first good game he's had. I feel like he's come into a really bad situation.
Yeah.
His debut was Norwich.
He was amazing.
Many days of trouble. He did well. He was composed. First half, no one played well because no one knew what they were doing. But throughout,
he was highlighting him every single time Bristol went forward in the second half. He was the guy repelling them every single time.
Yeah.
He had such a good second half. It was, I mean, yeah, you're right. He come in a bad situation, so I'm hoping that he can push on from that. And I don't know, is there potential of that being a permanent thing in the summer? I don't know if there's anything there.
Left of the back, I'm not sure. There's not really anything that's been discussed. But on the left of the back, 3 left footer. Maybe that he's more comfortable in that system than he is.
If Burnley go up, he's not going to be in that team, is he?
Well, he's not going to be in their team even if they stay down. I don't think. If
Harry Darling goes, we could potentially need 2 defenders.
Yeah, depends. Like I said, I think he played well. Or like I think he's needed time. He's coming, like you said, he come in the worst possible situation at the worst time when we were on a real downturn in form and everything else has gone on. So a couple of games in now, and I think like he was amazing on Sunday. I thought he was
and he barely kicked the ball all season until now as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think as well, we needed to, like we've touched on, like the change in that system. Like we haven't played like that all season, so I think it was always going to take like a bit of time to. Well, it's still going to take time if they're going to change the system like that. It might be worth mentioning as well if we're going on individual performances. Ronald at wing back, first half dodgy, but I thought he played well in the second half. As much as I've been on him.
He dug deep. I didn't think he'd have that sort of defensive ability.
The one thing I always thought he was good at was like one-on-one defending. Like sometimes when he gets back, he does like win the ball quite a lot. Like he does get a foot in and he does tackle quite well. As much as I get on him about going forward,
I think his positioning sometimes is a bit dodgy. That's all.
Yeah, he hasn't played that much, so we've got to let him off a little bit. But I think like when Darling got sent off against Sheffield United, and he kind of went into a sort of wing back.
Dig deep when he wants to, can't he?
He played well, so I think it could be something to look at going forward. I know it's it's one game, we don't want to get ahead, but could be something for him.
I think in one-on-one defending, like he can't really jockey that well. The people do knock it past him, but then because he's agile, he quite often can make up for it still. It's not a lost cause when someone's gone past him. So that's how he can get away with it. For me, I don't think it works long term because, like, not that his crossing ability and that's good anyway, but like for me, the only thing Ronald can do is sort of pick the ball up out wide and sort of run it in. And I feel like if you have him a wing back, you're taking that away from him a bit because he doesn't knock it past people anymore. He just seems like his speed has gone. It's weird. So I don't think he's like Timon where he can pick the ball up deep and bring the team forward. He just doesn't do it.
Well, Key will be there more often.
But he came on a centre back, didn't he? That's what we're facing.
Yeah, that seems like a thing that's happened quite a few times now. Is Key going to the right?
I think it's just because there's no one else, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
There wasn't anyone else that could come on. Well, Christie was there, but I guess maybe he doesn't. I don't trust Christie, so I'd rather Key come on. But I personally think Harry Darling comes back into the back 3 against Sheffield Wednesday. Ronald is going to go forward to replace where was playing. I think he's going to come back into wing back, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happens tomorrow.
Can't see Ronald at Cam.
He played there at Coventry, didn't he?
I'm not counting what happened to Coventry as a formation.
He's done it a few times when he's played 2 behind a striker. I think
It's
it will
weird.
be a case of like you'll stay wider perhaps, but he will be one of the two behind, or you'll tell him to go up top with whoever's up top, and he'll just have Cullen behind. So like
It's
you'll
weird
do it that way instead.
It's weird because he's like, it seems like he's undroppable, Ronald. He always seems to. I think, to my memory, we probably need to check it, but I think the only game he's ever played on the bench was Plymouth away, when he started on the wing instead of him. He's come back from injury. That's the only time I can think when he started on the bench.
It was one. I think it's been one or two. One
He
before
always seems
injury,
to.
and one after. But I can't remember.
Yeah,
off the
he
top
just
of my head.
always seems to like shoehorn him in a way, not being like harsh on him,
Yeah.
because he did do right in the second half in wing back. But you'd think now, if you're going to bring Key into wing back, then it makes sense to keep like Cullen and as the 10s, if he's playing with 2 10s, if we call it that. It would make
Unless he
sense for
will-
Ronald to be on the bench and come on, but I
If
can't
you
see him
dis-
doing it because he never drops him.
I was going to say, if you disregard the opening day against Barrow, where Ronald wasn't fully fit to be started on the bench, the only games he hasn't started is Plymouth, like you said, and Hull.
There we go. This year, never like he seems to be like a constant with Williams. He always seems to
Yeah,
find him.
maybe.
I can't see him dropping him.
Maybe he will put Key into more of a central role if he thinks he's got the passing qualities to do it. He does come into midfield, doesn't he? When he's in the past, that's what he's been used to. I don't personally like that decision. But if you're looking at the bench, you've got Sam Parker, who's kind of also a wing back. So if you utilize in the squad,
it's quite exciting.
It's Parker's best chance. This is.
Yeah, it's quite exciting.
I do think this is the sort of system where it could just be a phase. And once he's in this phase, now he's got to get minutes and prove himself again. Because I know he's built himself back to fitness, but he is a wing back. I see him as a wing back anyway. I don't think he has that end quality yet, Parker, in like goals and assists necessarily. But he will drive you up the pitch. I think he's the closest thing we got to Timon on that side. I put him ahead of Key in that regard as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I like that.
Fair enough. We need to see more of him, do we? I think Bianchini will start tomorrow, not for Potnick. Personally, I just think that's what he will do.
There's another one for Potnick. He hasn't played that much as well. He doesn't.
I think because it's Wednesday, Sheffield Wednesday, I feel like you're probably right in terms of Bianchini's probably more suited.
Might be fine at home though, because he's been good in the air. To be fair, he has been winning balls in the air.
Yeah, I just meant from a pressing perspective and the fact that this game probably is one where we want to stretch them a bit. Like we don't want them to become too comfortable just dealing with an aerial ball towards Potnick.
Ollie Cooper, I thought, came on and was full of energy, and I'm quite excited to see him come back into the team as well.
Yeah, nice to have options all of a sudden, isn't it?
Yeah, it's looking good to see if he can. It's strange because he played that way, didn't he? He played with like a back five, didn't he, in Notts County? And I always remember we went to the first game, didn't we, when we had Birmingham away, and he tried and played it.
How is Bashir Humphreys going to like get automatic promotion after that game?
And it was it was Parker playing on the wing then, wasn't it? At wing back then in that game. And then he didn't play it ever after that then. And now obviously he's back, played it again on Sunday. So let's see. But again, I think it can be quite exciting because
when did Parker get injured then? Was it under Luke Williams?
It was in that game. It was in that Birmingham game, yeah.
No, he was Josh Sheehan, not Josh Sheehan. What's his name? Who was the caretaker manager?
Alan Sheehan.
Alan Sheehan.
I think he was Birmingham. He got injured against.
Yeah,
Alan Sheehan's the one who brought him. I thought.
Did you say Josh Sheehan?
Yeah, Josh.
I'm pretty sure he went off in that Birmingham game early, and then we didn't see him for the rest of the season.
I'll go check it. I thought Sheehan brought him in, and he only played like 2 games. It was when he
started starting him, didn't he?
He put it on a plate for Blassie, and he missed it.
Oh yeah, that was Coventry. I think that was.
Well, that's they got in. That's when he got injured, isn't it?
Because he played quite a few games over Christmas. I remember Coventry away was one of them. I think Coventry away was his first start actually, and then that was like Christmas time, and then Birmingham was beginning of Feb, I think, and then he was kind of having a few games, and then he played well in that game at wing back, and then I think he got injured, and we didn't. See him
I'll eat my words. 2-2 against Birmingham.
Yeah, well, that's when he got injured.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Fair enough. Lee was paying attention clearly more than I was. I'm sure I was basically on my own because we couldn't get to our seats. But Bashir Humphreys was so bad in that game; it was unreal.
That game, yeah,
he was horrendous.
Frightening. And Wood.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, lads, from now on, we're going to pass the ball again," and it's like they literally couldn't do it.
I've never seen anything.
They just couldn't do it. It was bad.
But that's why you needed to have, like, obviously he's gone to the 5, isn't he? And that's why you needed to put Norton in there. Do you think Darlin plays in the middle of the 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, probably.
I feel like he'll be there just because he's better
Do you
on the
think
ball.
Cabango's not quick enough to go
Cabango's
there?
very good on the right-hand side of that. I know it sounds stupid, but when he's on the right side, he'll find whoever's on the right wing back, right wing position. He just loves that pass over to that side. And he finds it every time. It sounds a simple thing, but he does time it well. He like baits the attacker into it like a half a press, gives the player he needs to pass to a yard, and quite often we end up on the attack as a result. From the centre, you shift him onto his left foot, and all of a sudden it could go south. So yeah, it's got to be Darling centre for me.
Yeah, okay. And Janelli's on the bench; he didn't get on, so there's another option there. So there is some good stuff coming. Let's just see what happens tomorrow. It'd be interesting to see which direction he goes with the selection. There's more flexibility, and do you know what? I don't know if maybe it's time for Callan to drop to the bench, maybe with Ollie Cooper coming back in as well. I think he was quite quiet here. I'm not saying. I just think he's been quiet. Do you know what I mean? I think he couldn't do him any harm, so maybe have a rest.
It's a shout. Just you need to rotate Saturday, Tuesday. I'm saying Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. There aren't that many left now, are there? Midweek fixtures. There's the one tomorrow. Got Watford away in March and Plymouth, and that's it.
It's that week, isn't it?
3.
We've got Derby.
There is a Preston game to be rearranged as well. So I presume. Okay, so 4. That's quite a lot, actually. Yeah, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. Give Colin the rest.
Okay.
Can I brag about how we beat a BBC journalist?
I was just going to say, we touched on Grimes earlier, but didn't actually touch on the thing we opened the podcast with. And I remembered the word I was looking for. It's vindicated. That's what I was trying to think of the word, and my mind went blank. But so you kind of vindicated in your beating BBC to the punch. If you want to go ahead and explain the story.
Well, I've shared the screen. It won't be too much good for people on Spotify, but I shared the screen of the Twitter post if you want to show it. Yeah. So the story behind this. I'm not a journalist. We're not journalists. This is just right place, right time. I was at a charity event in Ammanford. Craig Bellamy speaking. Lovely charity event, good cause. But yeah, it was like a Q&A session, and I'm not sure if he let slip or if he just didn't care. So I was happy to say. Someone asked the question. What player would you get to play for Wales if you're able to? And it was not be funny. I think the person asking was like 7. So he probably meant like Messi, you know. But, But Bellamy talking a bit more literally, and he was like, "Oh, we really need number 6. We do. We got Ampadu, but Jordan James is a bit more attacker. We need a 6. Obviously, if you could pick anyone, I'd have Rodri, but we are trying for Grimesy. I think he's keen to do as well. You had the FAW guy sat next to him. He was nodding along. Yeah, we are trying to be down to paperwork. I didn't know if I was like dreaming or what. I had mates with me, and we all had the same look on our face. Because he said it so casually, you know. So I was right that you heard correctly. He definitely meant Matt Grimes. So I thought, you know what, take to Twitter. Like, it's a bit rare that we have like an inside scoop like that. So I tweeted, as you can see on the screen, the Welsh FA are attempted to recruit former Swans midfielder Matt Grimes to the Wales squad. Craig Bellamy was speaking at a charity event, said it would happen if paperwork could be agreed. 181 likes. Look at the likes to view ratio here, by the way. 84,000 views, only 181 likes. That's pretty
this is why I was ranting about it earlier. Yeah, because
that's pretty representative of how badly the news went down. Because I'm not saying this was inaccurate, as we'll see in a second. It was accurate. But I don't think I've ever seen such an overwhelmingly negative response to Wales news, because you got Cardiff fans who obviously hate him because he's been at Swans for 10 years. As we've discussed at length on this podcast, you have Swans fans who hate him because of the way he's left. And you'll have the Wrexham and Newport fans who will hate him because there isn't a Welsh bit about him in his bones, body, heritage. This is purely, we found out now, as I'll show by here. It did turn out to be true. BBC reported it on it. I
want to know where they got the information, whether it was like
they
saw something, looked into it, and then tweeted.
But they're looking to change eligibility rules, which currently say there's like a agreement between the home nations, meaning Wales, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, where in this case Grimes is English, but he's played at a Welsh football club for 5 years or more, lived in Wales. The eligibility rule change would mean that if somebody had been living in one of the other home nations for 5 years or more, then they'd be eligible. So Bale, for example, he was at Southampton and Spurs for more than 5 years. He would have been eligible for England. So it would work both ways. Since we were about to start recording, you had Noel Mooney, I think he's FAW chief exec, come out and tried shutting it down now, saying no, this isn't happening. BBC have reported on it, mate. Nothing against you. I think what's happened is you were going to do this, and you've seen the negative response, and you're now acting as if it was never happened. BBC aren't just going to make something like that. If they want to retweet our tweet and deny it ever happening, I would be pointing to Craig Bellamy saying, "Why'd he say it then?" But then he would have had a chance to get away with it. For me, no. BBC have reported on it 2 days after us. There was something in it. It was happening. Grimes, you're just going to have to deal with Coventry, and you're never going to be wearing a Welsh shirt now. Sorry, boyo, because no chance after the reaction. But overall, boys, what a scoop, eh?
Do you reckon it would have happened if he didn't leave?
No. I think the Cardiff... I'm only basing this off of being at Wales home games, Wales away games, and the number of Union Jacks we seem to hold up when we go to away games with the Swans. The number of Welsh fans who actually are vocal about Wales and support Wales, vast majority of them are Cardiff, Newport, Wrexham, very, very few Swans ones. So whatever positive response Grimes would have got from the Swans fan base would have been still significantly outweighed by Cardiff, Wrexham, Newport, and others for me. So
we've had players in the past who are like not Welsh though. Like Ashley Williams.
Oh yeah, there is a side where there's still plenty. I mean, even now, with Kiefer Moore, ask Kiefer Moore 10 years ago, are you Welsh? He probably would have laughed. But he has a grandparent who he probably went on holiday to like once every couple of years, so that's how he gets away with it. But the argument is, it is important to people. I'm making it out to be less than it is. It is important to people. The people who play for the national team have some sort of Welsh identity and heritage about them. Some sort
Ethan Ampadu.
There's plenty. Like there are plenty out of the consistent 24-man squads. Most of them are English. That's the truth of it. They are. And I'm not denying that. I would have liked Grimes to play for Wales, but deep down, if I take my Swansea cap off, because even though my opinion of him shifted a bit, I can still have full knowledge of how good he is as a player, how good he is in terms of managing games, and he would have transformed the way we play for Wales. He would have given us different options. But there's 0% of him as Welsh. The fact he's lived a little bit further down the M4 for 10 years hasn't changed that as a...
I get it. I think, I don't know if Lee can allude to this. Before I say this point, actually, let me clarify something that you said just now. I think the agreement between the home nations is an individual agreement within themselves. So they wanted to bin that agreement to be more in line with the actual official FIFA rules. And the actual official FIFA rules state that if you're residents of a country for 5 years, I think if you have residency for 5 years, you can then play for that national team if you haven't played for another one, essentially. So it wouldn't just be a case of like he plays for the Swans. I think you have to live in Wales as well.
This is why we tried it with Rangel, as you alluded to, and other people have alluded to a little bit further back, because that was probably a loophole at the time, and that he was Spanish, wasn't he? So we were trying to test the waters. Could we get away with Rangel playing for Wales because he lived in Wales for more than 5 years, but he wasn't from one of the home nations, and that didn't happen. But the other thing I just wanted to talk about quickly was, I'm not sure if we can get some of the replies up here. And
this is what I mean by vindicated, though.
Yeah, and please don't think this is me attacking anyone personally. It's Twitter. Things can always come across wrong. But some of the comments, is this a joke? Can't tell. How would that work? How much money was Bellamy offering? Is it April the 1st? If Britain wasn't, I can't see Grimes being eligible. He's ineligible. F that.
There's the quote ones you want to look at.
Oh, I forgot about these. Can I even see? I'm on bloody. Oh, they are view quotes.
Yeah, I think that one or two apologized, didn't they? He apologized.
No, just this one guy. Is it some BS? I don't think the quotes are as bad.
For those listening, it's just people not believing what we're saying, I guess, or like brushing us off as a little rubbish. And I understand that. It kind of looks a bit far-fetched. We don't claim to be in the know or anything like that. I know there's a lot of discourse around in the know Twitter these days. We don't claim to do that or be that or anything. So we just wouldn't tweet stuff that we heard as rumor.
Well, I was getting accused, whether they knew it or not, I was getting accused of attending a kids' cancer charity event and then making up that Craig Bellamy has said Grimes is joining Wales off the back of it. So I was just offended at that point. I won't lie, but there we are.
But so the fact that BBC have reported on it 2 days later just, says it all.
It's probably more off the back of Bellamy saying it publicly rather than us tweeting it. Don't get me wrong. He didn't just say it to me. He said it to 200 odd people. So it was out there then, wasn't it? But...
I think it's the timing of it as well. I think like as he's just left the Swans, and then that comes out. I think it's just the residual anger that we talked about. The people were just like, oh god. So I think there's an element of that in there as well.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? But I was going to
Dangerous
say,
sport. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say when you compare it to rugby, because that sort of stuff happens quite a lot in rugby, doesn't it? For the national teams, I was going to ask your opinions on it because you follow a lot more rugby than me. So, like, how you see this work in that sport? So, if they started introducing it here, like, I don't know, because a lot of obviously what Ben was saying, a lot of people seem against it from the Welsh perspective.
Yeah, I don't think it works in football. I didn't really like the idea of changing the rule because although it would work for players, say, in like at this level, like someone like Grimes playing in the Championship, you really open yourself up then to, like we said, like Bale, for example. So if you have any Welsh players then coming through, and let's face it, like, we're playing in the English league, a lot, 90% of top players are playing for English clubs, and you'd be very lucky for it to favour us one way. Do you get what I mean? Because I like a lot. Think of all the players that play for English clubs, like Jordan James and Harry Wilson and all these players that we potentially could have lost.
Yeah, would they get called up for
English clubs?
We'd benefit. We'd get a net benefit overall. Bale,
we would get benefit, but I just think I don't know. I think because it is different in football, isn't it? Because obviously we play in the English system. There's only Cardiff Swans and Wrexham and Newport really where we could benefit, whereas our Welsh talent could be playing anywhere in the Football League system and then be eligible for England.
I'm just talking about the pool of players. There's about 50 million people in England, whereas there's 3 million in Wales. That's all. So, like, Bale would have gone and been eligible. Ramsey would have gone and been eligible. Whether they would have chosen to play for England is another thing. But for me, they're the only 2 players. Sorry, in the last 20 odd years, maybe not that long, but 50.
But also, it's like they have to 5 years. So, like, if they're that level of Ramsey or Bale quality, you've called them up to Wales before they've been in England for 5 years.
Not necessarily. Bale was in Southampton since he was 11.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but I don't think
under 21 caps that young.
Like the residency rules wouldn't trigger that young. I don't think.
Okay, I just mean from my perspective anyway. Right now, we have 0 players good enough to play for England. And for me, Ramsey and Bale are the only 2 from the last generation almost.
Yeah, that's fair.
How far do you have to go back? Giggs, probably. And he would have played for England, 100% he would have. But
yeah, he definitely would have, yeah.
I think we would have a shout.
Bellamy, maybe.
We would have definitely benefited, like, overall net benefit. But I don't know. It seems a bit. And again, this could just be me being salty with Grimes as well. Like, do we really need to rip up the rule book just to get Grimes at 29 to play for Wales?
I agree with what you're saying, Lee, but also we kind of already introduced a new rule just because we're the home nations. This rule isn't a FIFA rule.
No, I know, but
it's an agreement between the home nations.
I know, but we can't have it. We can't have it both ways, can we? Where obviously with Welsh clubs playing in the English system, and then that's why that agreement is in place, because a lot of like Scottish and Welsh players play in the English system because there's more money.
Yeah, but you could say they could play in any league in the world. Like it's like
no, I know, but
Portuguese players go to Spain to play football.
No, I know, because of the proximity.
The point is, say now Bale went to Spain, which he did, and played there for 5 years, and he hadn't been capped for Wales already. So there is that rule as well. Once you're capped for one club, a nation, it's more difficult to switch. In it, he would have been eligible for Spain under FIFA rules. That's what it currently is, isn't it? But he wouldn't have been for England. So
I get what you're saying, Lee. But for me, we've already added a layer. Why have we done that?
Well,
I get the reasons why we've done it, but what I'm saying is, like, in terms of getting rid of that layer, like, why are we not on the same playing field as the rest of the world?
Well, no, but we got a very different, like, I don't know how long you've got tonight, but we've got a very different like political setup as well, haven't we? In the sense that we're like, the UK in 4 countries in.
We're a colony of countries, and whereas
so it's like a very different. So we got to protect ourselves a little bit in terms of, like, you've got England with that football pyramid, which is so much better and so much more powerful than the Welsh and the Scottish system and the Northern Ireland system. So you kind of got to have that layer of protection, haven't you?
At the end of the day,
yeah.
It
like,
makes sense. It'd be a free for all. It'd be look at the uproar with like Rice and Grealish, like.
and that's
getting
allowed because they're Republic of Ireland, so, you know.
I know exactly, but look at the uproar. Imagine Bale had gone and played for Wales. I know he probably wouldn't have because he was
England.
thing for Wales, but yeah, you know what I mean. Imagine he had, like, we would have lost. Like, look what we would have lost.
I do get your point. I just don't know how much often that would happen for us, really.
Yeah,
At
it
the end of the
wouldn't. You're right, but I just
At
think, I just think why rip up the rule book just for no disrespect. Like, for
I'm not saying
Grimes.
rip it up for Matt Grimes.
Unless it's just something they were
It
considering
feels
for a
like
while,
another
they
thing
thought,
for me that like is we just getting kind of like dictated to because England's bigger again. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's what it seems like.
If it was a good idea, then you wouldn't have had 99% of people say it was a bad idea, and those are Welsh people saying that, not English.
Yeah, it was only brought in like 2009 though. So like, what happened before? Like, it never was an issue before.
It's probably worked, doesn't it? Is what I mean. Like, it must
think
have
it's
been here
fine.
before 2009.
No, but-
Otherwise,
Yeah,
gigs would
2009
play.
is within our lifetime, quite heavily within our lifetime, and I can't
No.
remember a controversial case of a Welsh player going the other way because that rule has been before that rule was introduced. So
It must have been some sort of rule there before 2009. Otherwise, gigs would have played for England.
no, genuine. In the BBC article, it says that rule was introduced in 2009.
We're not experts on it, but there must have been more to it than that. 'Cause I know Giggs wanted to play for England and he couldn't.
No, but you open yourself up.
Isn't it?
I think it protects us in more ways than we think, because you'll have, like, say you've got like young players, these, like, say the young superstars, like, again, like Bale coming through really young at Southampton. They would have been like touting him, wouldn't they, to play for England? They would have been like, come on, you can come play for England. Like, I don't know, Dan James, for example, they're not at the same level, but obviously he played in Hull, didn't he? But then they could have been kind of, for the lack of a better word, like breeding these players to play for England. They'd be like, well, come here, we'll give you more money, and then unless you play for Swans, Cardiff, and Newport, you're not at any risk.
It is also a thing.
Sorry, go on, Ben.
It would just enhance the England, like, it would enhance their talent pool, wouldn't it?
Money talks with people as well, but it is also a thing of, like, you want the people who are playing for Wales to somewhat be Welsh, don't you?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
It's one thing when Kiefer Moore's granny is Welsh, and that's about it. But it's another thing when you've
I do agree with that part. I agree completely with that part. I just don't like the fact that we've got another layer of rules. It's like the whole Welsh Cup thing again, isn't it? But what did he say? When did Bale start play for Southampton since?
Actually play first team or like join as a kid.
No, like as a kid.
I swear it was like 11.
He was young.
Right. If he was at Southampton since he was 11, he could have played for England.
Yeah.
No, like regardless, even within this rule.
How's that?
So I got it here. So in 2009, the Home Nations Association agreed that other than through birthplace, parents, or grandparents, players can only represent Wales, England, Scotland, or Northern Ireland if they have had 5 years of continuous education up to the age of 18 in that country.
Oh, there we are. So yeah, he could have.
There we go.
So getting rid of that rule wouldn't have changed that.
So Bale is a true Welshman. There we are.
We knew that.
Just saying. Yeah, but
I still think it protects us. It stops. Again, England would just enhance their talent pool, because anybody that was good at a young age, like that, for example, they'd be like, yeah, come and play in the Southampton Academy, West Ham, wherever, come up here, and then maybe we'll pick them for England. It's happening in rugby. We've been lucky in Wales for the last couple of years, because all the young, anyone who's any good goes to play for like Hartpury in Gloucester. And we've been very lucky in terms of like players like Josh Adams and Lewis Rees-Zammit have said, no, I'm going to play for Wales because they're actually Welsh. But then it's starting to go the other way now, where that Faye Wiboso went from, he was there as well, but he's played for England now. He was kind of the first one then to say, no, actually I'll play for England because Wales is a bit of a mess.
Yeah, you're probably right. But like, that's poor on his behalf though, because like,
yeah, it was a bit controversial, wasn't it? Because I think
surely you have more opportunities if you're going into a team that's in a bit of a mess.
Born in Cardiff as well, but obviously because he's because all the good players go and play in. This is a different topic, but yeah, they go play in Hartbury because they've been in England for so many years, and they got all the good like rugby colleges in England. And they kind of just like they can. Again, it enhances their talent pool, so they're just picking up all these players. And unless someone says like, actually, no, I'm Welsh and I want to play for Wales, they can go play for England.
Yeah, talking about the rugby is going to depress me more, if I'm honest with you.
Oh God, yeah. Let's not open up that can of worms.
Yeah, that's not. Should we call it a day there? Or was
Score
anything
predictions.
else before we finish our predictions?
Yeah,
Get them up then.
we need to do the next two. Really,
We ran
don't we?
through all the results from our last one, didn't we? So we.
Yeah,
Do you
I'll
think
ta-
that was our biggest tangent ever, that we ended up at rugby eligibility?
No, we used to do
No,
rugby
I
videos, didn't we,
stopped.
back
I
in the
stopped
day?
you. I stopped you. We're getting good now. I recognise a tangent and I nip it in the bud before we get half hour down the line and we start talking about astronomy or something.
Salute fella
Yeah.
tau.
Yeah, we're talking about something really, way off topic.
But yeah, Coventry. Me and Luke had the correct results. Lee tried for a 2-1 Swans and
Speaking of
didn't
astronomy,
happen.
when I went to
Oh God, why did I do that? Why did I do
I got
that?
pictures on my phone of like the saucepan in the sky.
Because you said you've got to try to do something different to get yourself out of this
Oh
massive
my God.
What did you
losing
do?
streak you're on. You went
I
2-1
said Swans are going to
Swans.
beat Coventry. Oh my God.
I would like to
Red
point
in the
out as
sand.
well, by the way, I went 3-0 Coventry, and I feel like Luke saying this, but I feel like I should have got a correct scoreline there. But there we are. They just didn't try second half.
Should have been
I never want the
I-
Swans to
look,
lose.
I should have got it right with 2-2 Bristol, because Bristol should have been 2-0 up at half time and should have scored.
There's a lot of variance there, mate. I'm not buying that.
Well,
one.
if we're going down that road, then I should be top.
How do you figure that one then?
We could go back and go through some results.
I look forward to your video essay next week.
I will. I'll do it. See, I done 2-0 Bristol City. They scored those two early chances. That probably would have been it.
It probably would have been 5.
But anyway, none of us got any points in the Bristol City game.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I don't mind getting no points when Swans are winning. That's fine. But yeah, we're keeping the same system going now. I don't have to go last this time because Luke's in the lead, so that's good. But Lee, you're first for both games. First of all, Sheffield Wednesday at home tomorrow night.
Let's go.
Don't nick my score, because I've been on 2 Sheffield Wednesday podcasts and I've said the same thing on both of them. Don't you dare nick my score.
I'm
You
going to
can't nick your score.
say... How'd they get off on the weekend? They scored late. No, West Brom scored late against them, didn't they? I'm going to go 2-0 Swans.
2-0
Okay,
Swans.
that's fine.
And
Someone's feeling optimistic, isn't he?
I'm gonna nick your
God,
score.
one
I
win.
haven't even watched your pods, but I'm feeling a 1-1 here.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Knew it.
Excuse my French. Oh, why have you done that? That's
Because
just disgusting.
it's the most 1-1 game of football I've ever seen, and I haven't even
That's
seen the
just-
game yet.
Oh, do you know what? It's a spanner in the works if I ever saw one. Apparently, they're really good in the second half.
Could be bad for us, but then again, we did well in the second half just gone, didn't we? So
Turn the corner.
Is Jamalo going to score?
of course he is.
What did you say, Lee? 2-0. 2-1 Swans, then I'm going to go. I don't even want to say it, but I don't think it's going to be 2-2.
Right. Best we do Stoke away as well, so we're not going to get another pod in before Saturday, are we?
Stoke away, I think. We're rubbish at Stoke, aren't we? I'm going to go 1-0 Stoke.
I think Stoke are rubbish at Stoke at the moment.
Yeah.
Say 1-0 Stoke.
Yeah, I just can't see us ever winning at Stoke.
0-0.
Yeah, I like that too.
1-0.
There we have it. All right. Join us next time for when I'll be winning the score predictions table again.
I need a result here. I'm like the Swans in the bad run, and I just need to kiss the badge a few times and beat my chest and just get
How
a
many
win.
points is Leon?
He is on 23. It's only
Oh,
3 correct score lines behind Lee.
I can't remember what we said now, Ben,
Wow.
but we agreed on a forfeit for him when Lee wasn't in the podcast.
We'll have to go back and look at it. It was a test, Lee, to see if you'd watch the pod back.
Yeah,
when
it
you
was. And you didn't come back to us with a reaction, so we're assuming you haven't seen what we said.
Damn.
We
Well, we
can't
got the
remember
idea
what we
from
said.
somewhere. I feel like you got it from somewhere, Ben, when you were on that Watford thing.
The only one I always say is my fantasy league is a forfeit where you've got to run a park run in your club rival shirt. I don't want any of us to do that. 'Cause I don't want any of us to be pictures in the Cardiff shirt. I can't remember what the Watford one was.
I think Lee needs to start considering what he's going to
I
be
don't like
doing.
I'm rubbish at Swans predictions because
You got a
I
hefty
just go with my heart.
13 points to
There was
make
some
up.
dodgy
You've
result.
got to get 3 correct scores just to go into like joint first place at this point.
I feel like we can't give him a forfeit though. We're assuming Lee's going to lose. It could be one of us, but we can't just say 30 odd game weeks into a season, oh, the forfeit is. Like, that's not
Yeah.
fair, is it?
No, to be fair, it was at Christmas time, so it was halfway.
Yeah.
So
Like
what
next season
I
when we
can't
start
remember what we
fresh.
said. I'll have to go and find it.
we need a trophy as well, like a really rubbish one, like a
pink
Like it's
Ferrari.
like set in the background every single pod, whoever won it last year.
just like I don't know if anybody's got any suggestions. I don't know, something really daft, like nailed to a piece of wood or something. I don't
I
know.
don't know if you can see it over there. No, you can't. But I've got like a little gold trophy from go-karting.
Oh, I got one of them here somewhere. I finished third out of my mates, and it literally fell apart as I picked it up for the first time. I had to super glue it back together. It could be up here, actually. I think it is.
Well, we'll make something. We'll make a little swan shrine or something. But yeah, that'll be funny. All right, well, there we go. There's the predictions. Yeah, I'll go one of them. Just gold because I won.
Because you won. Oh, fair play. Anyway.
Were you there for that, Lee? I think you might have been.
Was it your stag?
No, Jamie's one.
Oh, I can't remember.
I didn't win in my stag. I had a dodgy car.
Yeah,
That old excuse.
Of course it did.
So I made sure I won the second time. Anyway, that's that, I think. We said we can do an hour. Yeah, well, a lot to talk about again. You're going to the Sheffield game, yeah? So maybe I'll catch you tomorrow. But anyone else, we shall see you in the next video. So thanks for watching as always. Let us know your comments on anything we spoke about today below. Don't forget to subscribe. We've had quite a few actually after the last podcast. I think there's quite a few watching Coventry fans as well, to be fair, telling us in the comments how they're trying to brag about it. Did you see them?
What do you mean try in? They were.
Yeah, but it was weird. They were just like, oh, Swansea's a small club anyway. I don't know. Go and check the comments out. But yeah, we should catch you in the next one. Have a good one.
In a bit.
See you later.